Satchiyamayi, Satyamayi, Parame Om. This is an invocation to the Divine Mother by Sri Aurobindo. It says, O One of delight, O One of consciousness, O Truth, O Supreme, the Divine Being is also the Divine Consciousness, and that consciousness is power, Shakti as it is called, and it is always full of delight. It is on a wave of delight that all this universe comes into being as a result of the activity of this Shakti, the Divine Mother. The Shakti is not different from the Lord, the Divine, as the Master, the Ruler. It is the Divine Being itself that poises itself as the power, as the Shakti. And in this universe, this power of God, to put it simply, is extended as what is called the great power, the vast puissance, the cosmic Mahashakti. It is also called Kundali, Mahakundali. It is a great power, always folded and folded in itself, always on the move to unroll itself. And this Mahakundali, the cosmic power, projects itself in every form as the individual Kundalini. The power, the divine power, which is in every form like a spring, that is the Kundalini. The Kundalini within the individual and the Mahakundali, they have a correlation, they have an equation. And this Kundalini is not lodged in the physical body as popularly supposed. Our physical body is not the only body. There is a striking passage in one of the older Upanishads which describes that In this physical body, the consciousness that presides over the physical body is the physical Purusha. The physical Purusha. Behind the physical Purusha, presiding over the physical body, there is the vital or the life Purusha presiding over the life body made of life substance. The creative substance is not exhausted by the physical substance. The physical is only the grossest layer of the creative substance. So the life substance, there is a life body and there is the life Purusha. Behind the life Purusha is the mind Purusha, presiding over the mental body. Behind the mental Purusha, there is the knowledge Purusha, presiding over the knowledge body or the causal body. Behind that Purusha is the Ananda Purusha, presiding over the life of the body of delight. So each one of us has 5 bodies. The physical, around it, larger is the life body, around it is the mental body, the knowledge body, the delight body. And between this physical gross material body and the life body, there is what Sri Aurobindo calls the subtle physical body. It is a link between the physical and the life body. It is what is called the etheric body in the theosophical terminology. Now this subtle physical body is closely attached to our physical body and it protects our physical body. If it is strong, we are less open to diseases, viruses, attacks from elsewhere. If it is weak, everything gets through. It is what Mother calls the nervous envelope, and you are as strong in health, bodily and mental, as your nervous envelope is strong. If you always have a cheerful attitude, a positive approach to life, kindness, benevolence, all expanding movements, well, that nervous envelope is strong and much cannot get through it. If you are negative, depressed, dark, always thinking of lower things, there are holes in that nervous envelope and anything can get through. Now in this subtle physical body, otherwise called the nervous envelope, there is this dynamism of power, what is called the pranic dynamism in the subtle physical body, corresponding to the bottom of our spine, physical spine. It is a concentration of energy, described as life energy. Only a fragment of it, as is necessary for the daily activities of life, is put in operation by nature. That is why we function at hardly 1/10 of our full capacities. If this power can be awakened and activized, summoned into action, then our life becomes powerful, effective, and on a different level altogether. 4. Along this spinal column, there are centers of consciousness in the subtle physical level, different centers of consciousness governing different principles of existence and necessarily governing the respective qualities and powers and faculties of consciousness. And these centers, to repeat again, located in the subtle physical body, have their corresponding areas of operation in the physical body. The first center, what is called the Mooladhara, the basal center at the bottom of the spine, is said to govern the earth principle. All physical activities, things like food, things like sex, they are governed from there. If this center is awakened, and how does it awaken? When, by a certain process which I shall describe later, this involved power is awakened, the first center where it comes is the basal center, and it has its effect. There is terrific heat in the body, convulsions, because our physical body is normally accustomed to bear only a certain impact of life energy. But when this concealed power springs up, the body takes time to adjust itself, and that is why it is agitated, it shakes, there is heat in the body, and there is lot of greed for food, increased appetite. Whatever food you take, it is burnt, and again you need. If you don't give food at that time, well, that energy eats up your body itself. So, they take in lesser quantities, but every now and then. The second effect is, since it also governs the sex center, the sex energy, the sex desires, they are intensified. There is a terrific outburst of sex energy and desire, but it is prohibited in this science to indulge in sex at this time, at this moment. One has to conserve, one has to hold. Those who indulge, they get unbalanced, they fall sick, something happens. This is the point that has not been realized in the West. Many have confused Kundalini with sex power, and they look to Kundalini, they want to practice Kundalini in order to enhance their capacities for sex enjoyment. But this is an error, and thrice an error. One needs to keep control and hold that energy, and that energy turns upward and not outward. The second center of consciousness is Swadhisthana. It is at the root of the genitals, just above the basal center. It governs small, petty movements of desire, anger, jealousy, and all petty things. So when this Shakti comes up to that center, all these things become manifest. You suddenly become cantankerous, you suddenly get upset for every little thing, you become jealous, you become irritable, all these. Then it is raised to the third center, what is called the Manipura at the navel. The second center, governs the water principle. The first governs the earth principle, the second governs the water principle. Now, the center at the navel governs the fire principle. It governs also the larger life impulses, large vitality, grandeur, adventure, nobility, ambition, expansive. That is the third center. So when the Shakti touches that level, all these movements begin to manifest. And one no longer indulges in those lower petty things. The fourth center is in the heart. It is called the Anahata. That is, it is that place where you hear the unstruck sound. Our material sound, the human sound, is a result of percussion of two things. But there is a sound which is unstruck sound. It is the cosmic sonada. It is the cosmic sound which goes on reverberating by itself. And there we begin to hear that sound. This center governs the air principle. Earth, water, fire, air principle. And it is also the center of love, center of unity. When the power is there, one feels a spontaneous love emanating towards everyone. It is not a personal, individual love. It is an impersonal love, like an ocean, flowing on all. And you feel that oneness with everything. Nobody needs to tell you or lecture to you that you are all brothers, you are all one. Or there is no need of a commandment saying that you should love others. One, as Mother says, one loves because one cannot help loving. Love has no reason, love has no cause, and a love that has a cause is no love. That's what she says. That center is at the center of the chest. The next center is called at the throat, back of the throat, is called the Vishuddha center. It governs the principle of ether, and it governs also the power of expression, the power of externalizing what the mind thinks. So when one reaches this center, there is a great development of the force of elocution. One begins to speak without difficulty. There is a fluency. There is a joy in expression. And whatever thoughts, however high, they get easily expressed when this center is awakened. The next center is here, between the eyebrows, a little above, corresponding to what they call romantically the third eye. Well, this is a center of vision and will. When you are stationed here, this center governing the mind principle, a new vision opens, which sees beyond the physical vision. It sees what is happening on the subtler planes, what is likely to happen tomorrow, what are the possibilities that are cooking, how you are likely to be tomorrow, day after, all that one sees. Also, the power of will gets strengthened to effectuate what it wants. And above that, above the crown of the head, not at the crown, above the crown of the head, it is an overhead center. There is the center of the thinking mind. It opens the channel between the thinking mind and the consciousness that is above, the spiritual mind. And there is the highest consciousness embodied in a human being. A consciousness of purity, a consciousness of peace. And it is when this Shakti, Kundalini, that has been roused, pulled up and brought there it is said to meet this consciousness, which is described as the Master, as the Lord, as Shiva. And the moment it meets, there is a downpour of bliss. This is the real truth of the symbology of the meeting of man and woman, presented in human terms and literally believed by many. Real truth is the Shakti, that is the woman, arises from below and meets the Lord, who is waiting at this crown, and this results in a downpour of bliss. But our mechanism is such that the body cannot stand this result for more than a minute or so, and immediately the Shakti comes down. By practice, it has to be raised up, trained. And how do we do it? The standard practice is you learn to take an asana, erect, sitting in a lotus posture, so that the body, there is no danger of the body falling, there is no danger of the body getting restless, and centering your mind, you do deep breathing, pranayam, as taught by the teacher. Concentrate your attention at the base of the spine. In a prayerful, evocative mood, pray into that Shakti, essentially the divine Shakti, to arise, to awake. And you repeat a mantra given by a teacher. That teacher must be one who has himself realized the Kundalini. He can't take a thing from a dictionary and give you. There are dictionaries of mantras, by the way, but he won't. To initiate a disciple in any spiritual discipline, in any spiritual path, the teacher must be one who has realized the truth of that path. So this teacher, Guru, is one who has already awakened the Kundalini in himself. And he gives the mantra to him, which is like a key opening the doors. So he repeats that mantra and joins his breath and the mantra to his jiva, to his soul. Beginning, it starts with imagination, to be frank, and connects it with the Kundalini. This process goes on and on and on for hours together. And when, after a steady practice, it responds, there is a rumbling. There is some restlessness at the bottom of the spine. You feel some sparks flying in the back. You feel some kind of fire anywhere. These are all beginnings. So gradually, when the Kundalini awakes, I described to you the manifestations at each level. Now, these centers of consciousness, they are called chakras, wheels, because in the subtle body, the nerve channels, not the physical nerves, the nerve conduits called nadis, which gather at that focus, they have the configuration of a wheel. Occult seers see them as wheels. They also look like lotuses, only they are lotuses hanging with their face down. So when the Shakti comes up and strikes, the lotuses turn upwards and bloom. The powers, the energies, they bloom. And when the Shakti comes down, they again turn back. So it is not enough to awaken the Kundalini, but it has to be drawn up prayerfully, concentratedly every day and induced upwards. That's the process. And even when it touches there, and that is the supreme culmination of joy, there is a change in consciousness, but a change which lasts just for that time. So, it has to be followed up by a regular practice, extending to many hours per day, by which it becomes a natural movement. It goes up and comes down, stays longer. And the culmination is when, though the bulk of the Shakti comes down, something of it remains. So you are in a superconscious state, with all these powers awake, with all these powers dynamized, full power. At that time, one can live a full life, one can have sex, one can have food, everything. That is how lot of householders who have families, they have practicing Kundalini Yoga. But one cannot indulge in the sex till certain definite results are achieved. So here the subject of sex has been mentioned. I have made it clear that sex is not any of the objects of Kundalini Yoga. We misuse, abuse the art or the technique or the science for something else for which it has not meant. And if at the time the sex impulses are aroused, one fails to withstand it, control it, well, there is a great danger of being unbalanced. That is why the masters of Kundalini Yoga insist on a certain amount of physical purification, psychological purification of desire, purification and conquest of passions. And a lot of talk there is of Tantra and sex. Sex is a way to God. But the truth of the matter is, there are in the Tantric science 3 categories of sadhaks or seekers. Those who practice Tantra, there are 3 categories. Those who are involved in their passions and desires and impurities, they are called the Pashu, the animal. And they have a set discipline of external worship through grains and milk and ghee and things like that. There is the second category called the hero type, the Veera, who has conquered his passions and desires, who stands above them. Well, he alone has the right to use sex, to use the joy of sex as a door opening to the bliss of God. Theoretically, it is true that pure sex as a culmination of pure love, causeless love, absolute self-giving. If sex is a physical expression of that love, it does open the doors of the soul. But before one can say that, one has to be honest to oneself. Whether one has really conquered passion, whether one is not driven by desire in having sex, lust, desire, or one has ascended the scale and arrived at a causeless and an unselfish love. A Veera is one who has done it, and basing himself on the principle that everything that God has made should be utilized as a field for the expression of God, for the reaching of God. He uses sex, and for him it is a sacred ritual. It is something holy, but there are conditions. And the human capacity to deceive oneself is endless. And the great truth, a great path has fallen into disrepute because of this abuse of the science. But the highest class of seekers is called the Deva, the God type, who has risen above everything, always balanced. He doesn't have even the impulsions of adventure and heroism. He is settled in a peace. He has an inner worship, inner adoration. These are the three types. So, contrary to other yogas of the Vedantic type, of the Theravada, the Buddhist type, the Hinayana, that is the lesser vehicle type, or even traditionally you can say the Mahayana, contrary to those paths which prohibit sex completely, the Tantra admits under very severe exacting conditions. Now, it is up to us to fulfill the conditions and arrive at a state of consciousness or being which has sex without passion. Now, how many can have sex without passion? No desire, no passion. This is the question that we have to ask. And this very process of raising the Kundalini step by step, center by center, the same rule for all, it does not work out in everybody's case. That is why Sri Aurobindo chooses a more natural and a more practical way. What he does is, you open yourself in your consciousness and being to that Mahakundali, to that divine Shakti which is there pervading the cosmos, praying it to come down and to descend into you. And when that Kundali, Mahakundali, the great cosmic power descends into you, it strikes at that center which is ready and which is open. Maybe your heart center is more developed than your mind. But in the classical Kundalini system, each has to come in its order. It's not a natural way. It is a mechanical way, a hard way, a laborious way, and a dangerous way. So what in the integral yoga of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother, we open ourselves to that force, to that yoga Shakti called Mahakundali, and allow it to work. In me it may start with the mind center, in another it may start at the heart center and then come to mind center. But as a result of its workings, the whole body, the whole system gets energized, and the awakening of the Kundalini can be the last step. So the movement is from above to below, rather than from below to above. That is the distinction. And he depends upon that universal pure Mahashakti, not the one which is involved in lot of dross in our system. And it does not call for that difficult requirements of purification, concentration, application. That is the difference. So that is Kundalini, That is where sex comes in, and that is where the individual sincerity comes in. And now I would invite questions.
Would you say something about the color symbolism of the chakras?
Yeah. Each chakra or lotus has been described as having so many number of petals. 4, 6, 8, 12, that way. And each one has a color. And this color is the color of the particular principle which it governs. For instance, the basal lotus, Muladhara lotus, is described to be red. Now red is the color of matter, physical consciousness. So vitality, life force, it is green. The mind, yellow. The soul, the love, it is the psychic color which is mauve, between mauve and pink. And here it is white. Spiritual light is white. First green, and as it ascends it becomes white. So in these lotuses, the experience is one sees many colors mixed, because our system is so mixed up that you just can't experience only the physical consciousness or only the mental consciousness. They are mixed up. So it is a play of colors, but essentially a color, a hue signifies the principle that it indicates.
What about the blue color?
Blue color is the first grounds of the spiritual consciousness. Your color, your coat color.
How does one activate
Yes, I understand.
Could you repeat the question so that
Yes.
I think from the back they don't hear the question.
The question is how to activate this center. Obviously our friend is interested in the power that it gives. Well, you concentrate your mind, bring it into focus, and here you imagine there is a flame, a candle flame or whatever, and go on looking at it. Don't allow yourself to be distracted. There will be tension. There will be maybe a little headache in the beginning, but persist and it will form, and wherever you are, your consciousness will get centered spontaneously there. So imagine a kind of a flame, and it is called Tratak. Bringing all your energies there and concentrate.
Fifth center corresponds to ether, governs ether.
Yes.
The sixth, the seventh.
Sixth is the mind center. This governs the mind center, my principle of mind. And here, the superconscious. Yes?
I was reading the liquid of gold flower.
Yeah, I think so. Golden flower. In the Indian tradition, it is called the 1,000 petal lotus. These lotuses have 2 petals, 4 petals, 6 petals, but to indicate infinite scope, infinity, plenitude, it is described as having 1,000 petals. If you see the old paintings of Buddha, you will always find on his head an inverted 1,000-petal lotus, like sitting like a cap. Now this 1,000-petal lotus, I think, is described in some other traditions as that golden flower things. Gold is the color of truth consciousness, higher than the normal spiritual consciousness. It is truth consciousness, what Sri Aurobindo calls the supramental consciousness, and it has a golden hue. Yes, sir?
What's the meaning of pranava?
Patanjali, meaning of pranava, meaning of Om, that's what he asks.
Pranava and Om is the same?
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, question is answered. Yes.
Would you please recommend a book on Kundalini Yoga, if there is such a thing?
Well, you see, Arthur Avalon has written a voluminous treatise called The Serpent Power. It is very difficult, particularly for a Western reader, to wade through all those details. So I was moved to give a study of it, not just a condensation, but a study of that in terms which are intelligible to the West. And that is, I have named it as, what is that? Kundalini Yoga. Perhaps you will find it here. So my 2 books, Lights on the Tantra and Kundalini Yoga, will give this perspective.
Would you speak in terms of the annual yoga stages of preparation for
Stages in integral yoga for opening this power, Shakti. Is that right? Opening to the Shakti. We always open to the higher Shakti and not to the Kundalini, Mahakundali Shakti. And how to open is first to have faith that there is a power, that there is a divine consciousness spread everywhere, governing things, guiding things. It is in me, it is in the universe. By prayer, by devotion, one surrenders oneself, submits oneself, and prays to that power to descend. And you just sit expectantly, silently, meditating. And keep your fingers open. You will feel, try. Keep your fingers open, like this. And if you like, you say, invoke the divine Shakti. Om. Join me. You see, something else has come. Something is present, making itself felt at the tip of your fingers, as silence on the mind cultivate that, call that, and with faith and practice, she responds.
What is involved when you the one with the hearing and constant buzzing sound?
There are, she is speaking of a low humming sound, is that right?
It's more like a buzzing.
Right, buzzing. Well, there are 10 different types of sounds spoken of in yoga. Any one of them you may hear. The sound of a cricket at night you see, the sound of a conch, the sound of a flute, the sound of the sea, the sound of a passing caravan, the sound of thunder, a continuous sound. That is, buzzing sound gradually develops into the celestial sound, Om, like that. Om is the transcendental creative vibration, spanda, at the human level in terms of human sound. So each time you repeat Om with full attention, slowly you invoke those creative vibrations from the transcendent heights. So this buzzing sound will refine into that Om later.
Is it possible at this time with the Armageddon type philosophy, are we suffering constantly from psychophysical repression, human potential and evolution, for the releasing of the Shakti, this great divine medium? Our communications and sometimes the philosophies of men in high position which can dictate the possible survival or loss of humanity as a species. I'm concerned about faith and the opening of those chakras that we all are participate in divine consciousness. And my question is, it seems almost impractical to find the teacher to instruct. The technological advancements we're making so fast may be damaging or hurting or maybe complementing our nervous angle, the distortion of our own physical time and being. And like all of us, I look forward to the integral consciousness and the sharing of the mind. And people need some additional faith in that process.
I'm glad that you have brought things into your focus which I desired, and that is the traditional Kundalini yoga cannot be practiced in its entirety today in modern conditions. The human consciousness does not need to be subjected to that laborious process of systematic awakening of the chakras. The consciousness as it has developed at the heart or in the mind, that can be open to an integral whole consciousness of God, the divine, and all the results of the Kundalini can be incorporated from above. So it is not practical today. And as I said, we in India, very few practice it if at all. We write about it as a sacred heritage. We don't practice, we don't need to practice that, with all the dangers, with all the requirements which we cannot fulfill. Which man in the modern world can devote 6 hours per day for awakening this Shakti? But you can certainly set apart half an hour to sit quiet, meditate and open to the higher thing. There you don't need a teacher. The inner teacher is enough. And I agree, the teachers are not that many. Shivananda says the teachers do not come to our doors. And the teacher is not always a human teacher. So I have dealt with this subject as a subject. I don't recommend Kundalini Yoga to anyone, but I recommend that integral opening of oneself to a higher and a divine consciousness, which includes all the gains of Kundalini in its goal. Yes, sir? Somebody here?
Well, I had 2 questions. I don't know, are you familiar with this? Sigmund Freud had an oceanic feeling where you feel like, I don't know, I've experienced it as going back and forth within you, like the ocean energy. Are you familiar with that?
I don't know, but it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
It makes sense to me.
Of course, the other thing, while you get it when you sit, sometimes you start rocking back and forth.
Yes.
And of course, the other thing I think that, if I understood you, just through simple faith and honest living, you should be able to demonstrate in your own life that this intelligence is working through you and answering and solving your problems. Is that?
Well, these are faith and simple living. These are conditions. But there has to be a practice of raising the level of your consciousness, deepening the level of your life. That requires meditation, study, contemplation as a background to your simple life. Simple life necessary, direct life, but an intense effort inside is necessary, psychological effort is necessary to widen and deepen the consciousness.
But if you hallow everything, or are in a prayerful state,
Yes, it is possible.
doesn't it?
Yeah, it gets
Again
through.
with that for-
It gets through. If you are in a prayerful state, having faith in God, it gets through.
in everything you do, in work and everything.
It should. Thank you, sir.